laws of physics in the universe to favor your position. I just remain unconvinced. I'm sorry.
Plus, the concept of God is unfalsifiable by definition because you can always remove him instead of further.
Could you tell us a way in which we could disprove God?
Any more than you could disprove that Russell's teapot orbits between Mars and Jupiter.
But you don't believe in Russell's teapot, do you?
I don't see any reason to believe in Russell's teapot. I see plenty of reason to believe in God.
See, I would just take that one step further, on my side at least. I mean, I don't see any reason to believe in Russell's teapot.
Yeah. If you don't mind. Okay. I guess I'll ask some of my moderator questions and hopefully we'll have time for audience questions. But this question, I guess it could be applied to both, but I'll ask it first, the secular, to the negative side, I guess. One of the arguments I think Maria brought up was that the universe is so unlikely or oddly precise with so many ordered laws, and it seems, well, I guess Maria was saying that it seems purposeful in its creation. Can you guys imagine like a world without God that does have some ideology, some purpose behind? Well, I don't know. I can get into this as well, but can you imagine a world without God that still has teleology, that has some sort of design or purpose?
Why does it have to have a purpose?
Okay.
No, I'm not trying to be
well, the argument that Maria was making was that everything seems so unlikely that it just seems like it wouldn't have just come around without any order, without anything behind that.
I don't think that you can ask why of something that's natural. Why does ice freeze? I mean, we know how it freezes, but I mean, what it just freezes. I mean, you can't assume, a conscience or a conscious rather, and a motive for something that's natural, and simply you can't necessarily do that. If you actually want to get into it, it's the sort of thing where there are a number of possibilities right now being explored. Although this actually goes more in the realm of mathematics. Things of if the universe was not, if it didn't have these various constants, and there are quite a few actually that if they were not, I mean, their percentage is different absolutely, but we simply wouldn't be here talking about them if they weren't. One explanation for that is simply that, there are multiple universes out there, and the ones in which they are not like that, people aren't having that debate. It doesn't mean that those constants are not that somewhere else, it's simply that they aren't here. And because they are here, we're having this discussion. It's simply just, if there are an infinite number of universes and there's a finite, not even a finite, but even if there's an infinite number of combinations and permutations of these sort of variables, one of them has to support life, and that's where we are. My question would simply be, is the universe fine-tuned to support life, or is life is the universe fine-tuned to support life, or is life as we know it fine-tuned to exist in the universe? I mean, and there's naturalistic explanations for that, and again, until all naturalistic explanations are exhausted, don't say God did it.
I see what you're bringing up.
Well, that's their negative response merely raises the question of where does order come from? Is it just that gravity works the way it does, or that the properties of atoms and electrical forces works in the way that it does in our universe? Why are these constants the way they are?
Well, if they were indifferent, you'd be asking why they are the way they are.
Exactly. And postulating multiple universes is like positing the existence of God, only with less evidence, because multiple universes cannot, by definition, have effects that are visible in our universe, while God can.
That's actually not necessarily true. It's verifiable by a mathematics, not at that point yet, but there's certain things that are at that point, for one. Number two, they can't have repercussions in this universe. That's not necessarily true either. I mean, the basic, like I said, there are a number of theories, and this is something that's this is a subject of debate right now. I mean, it's not a. I don't assert this as fact. I'm not asserting it. This is simply something that's being discussed right now, and an idea that's being entertained. But yes, it's. How to articulate this properly. It's kind of difficult to articulate. No worries. There are different explanations, basically, and there's evidence supporting the idea of there being multi-universes, multiple dimensions, and things like that. Interestingly enough, some Christian apologetics actually go that route, such as the crew over at Reasons to Believe. They're old Earth creationists, which is kind of interesting, yet they accept the possibility of there being, multiverse, multiple universes. It is something that would be verifiable by mathematics. Is it at that point yet? Absolutely not. But the calculations, and if it is correct, do show that, yes, what happens in one universe can't have an impact in another.
Yeah, the photon experiments, right? Predictable photons, where you can shoot a beam of light through a slit and it makes interference patterns so the photons are interfering with each other. But if you shoot just one photon at a time, it still makes that pattern.
Or even the existence of a hadron collider. I mean, what are they trying to find right now? It's looking for particles like this. Where?
Yeah,
I would say that infinite universes there, that within these infinite universes, and we're all possible universes, there would have to be a smaller order infinite number that could support life. Universes that look exactly like this one, except the canary would appear right now and then it disappeared. What we would observe is, if all were such were possible, there would be anomalies in every single universe except one, the universe. And that is what we appear to be living in, one in which all things, as we were saying, seem to be explainable by science. Why is it that out of the infinite compatible universes, we have it compatible and order, but there appear to be not just appearance of laws, but actual laws that are not authentic?
Well, wait a minute. You said that for all the different universes, there's one that isn't an anomaly, and that's the one without anomalies, and that's this one. Well, if we were having this discussion in another room and there wasn't a canary flying through the air, this one would be the anomaly. So it's the sort of thing where we say that this wouldn't be the anomaly because we're here, we're experiencing it. As you said, if this is going on somewhere else and a canary flies through the room, they'd point to us and say, aha, this one is the only one without the canary. It's the anomaly.
What I'm saying is that there could only be one universe in which laws were actually operative, right? Because in the other ones, they have to be different in some small way, right?
Yeah, that
This
could
is
be.
all possible realized universes.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that this is one of the possibilities. That there could be other possibilities exactly like it.
But just because they're not identical doesn't mean that they don't work. I mean, she's wearing a yellow shirt in a different one. That doesn't mean that she's not here.
Right. So there would be an infinite number of universes related to, things that wouldn't violate the laws of physics, but also an infinite number that would. And I'm saying if you don't escape the problem of infinity, the improbability, I'm saying there could be multiple, we have to exist in an inhabitable universe. If we don't have to exist in an inhabitable universe, I say that's the characteristics of this one. We're non-violent.
I don't really think that infinity is a problem, right?
Isn't that how you're solving the problem?
Yeah.
By saying that if there are an infinite number of universes, this one will surely arise, escaping the improbability.
Yes. So again, infinity would be our argument or problem for us.
Because we're saying since we're both arguing infinity, you're arguing an intelligence behind the infinity. We're not. We're just saying infinity.
So are you saying that there's an infinity or not?
Saying that if yours is the case, it's still a question why we happen to live in the inhabitable universe that yields these laws which don't appear to be violent. Given that we could be living, still having this discussion, as you said, in any one of an infinite number of other universes, which would not appear to display the regularities constantly that we observe in this regularity that we attribute to science.
Well, if they didn't have that, regularity, if the constants in other, first of all, the constants, it's not the sort of thing where it's one number or else everybody dies. That's not how it is. I mean, there's definitely a range. But we are within the habitable range, obviously, the difference between having this discussion. If in the other universes, if they were outside that range, they wouldn't be sitting there having a discussion. but the values could be slightly tweaked, you know, or even one with identical values where people are slightly different. I mean, that's still a possibility. But again, I'm not necessarily asserting that that's true. It's simply one possible explanation for it. Again, I don't know.
Okay, well, I hate to break this off, but I do want to squeeze in some time for audience questions.
Are we going to do closing statement?
Oh, yeah, wow, sorry. Okay, yeah, 2 minute closing statements from each side.